Well, it was an amazing, vibrant place. In Australia at that time, we were just starting to get to grips with the idea of Asian immigration, and there had been a large intake of people, humanitarian immigrants, coming from Southeast Asia, particularly from Indochina, and they were settling in Cabramatta. That's where the migrant hostels were located. It's also where there was affordable rental accommodation, and at that time it's where there was jobs in factories in the manufacturing sector. That part of Sydney was a focus of manufacturing. I was struck by the very negative media attention to Cabramatta and to other places like it across Australia, like Richmond and Melbourne. There were those people who were very concerned about the diversity in Australia, cultural diversity, and were very opposed to the policy of multiculturalism. This is a time of debate about that policy. Some were arguing we should return to an assimilationist policy in which we all quite quickly became Anglo-Australians, if that was possible. And Cabramatta was pointed to by the critics of multiculturalism as evidence for why we should return and move away from multiculturalism. And so I went there and I looked at the place and I thought, well, I don't see all of these negatives. I don't see the case for why this is an argument against multiculturalism. I think it does remain current, and it remains current because it said something exceptional at the time, and that came from the field. It wasn't my idea. I went out to do my first interview in the field. I was talking to the president of one of the Vietnamese cultural associations in his lounge room, and I asked him, I said, what is it like to be forced to live in this area of concentration? I asked that question because the literature at the time suggested that migrants, minority groups, were often forced to be in areas of impoverishment and clustered there, in a ghetto, if you like. I asked him the question, he said, I don't quite get what you mean. This is a fabulous place to live. We've been able to establish some amazing cultural infrastructures. The community gets together. Commonwealth Bank now have bilingual tellers so that those who are particularly elderly who haven't got good English skills yet can still get by. A whole series of benefits of this concentration of this community in that area. So I changed the focus of my honours project and I decided to report on the positives of concentration that I detected in that place. And so it was remarkable at the time, and it still remains one of the pieces that, for the first time, points to the positives of concentration, rather than just always focusing on the negatives. If I was going back to Cabramatta today to repeat this research, one thing I would definitely do, I would have front of mind not to think about Cabramatta and not to characterise it as a place of just one cultural group, because it's not. It's not just a place where Indo-Chinese Australians live, where Vietnamese Australians live, as I would have characterised it in my article. It is in fact a place of amazing cultural diversity. It is in the top 3 most culturally diverse localities in Australia. We should be very careful not to characterise places as the preserve of one cultural group. We get in the habit of ghettoising and affirming those constructions. Cabramatta is a very, very culturally diverse place. If I went back to do that research again, I'd have that front of mind.